All right. So we kind of we'll switch gears here to a little bit more about actually, we talked about the why, talked about disc profiling. Again, those are the two probably golden nuggets, two biggest golden nuggets I can give you is finding out your why, don't make it a secret, let your customer know, and understand disc profiling. With disc profiling, I gave you the tip of the iceberg. You can dive into disc profiling way, 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 way more deep than what I taught you. That's just very elementary. Do know that you have a primary and a secondary disc profile. A lot of times you may notice this about yourself. You're different at work than you are at home, and vice versa. Your disc profile may change from work mode to personal mode. Your customers also have that same thing, but if you're in management or you're an owner, know that people are not the same at work always as they are at home. So you'll notice those things. And what I've kind of learned in my little bit deep dive is that your at-home trait is kind of who you really are, and then at work is something you've adapted to because you've had to maybe in your role. But when we get stressed, a lot of times we revert back to our home time. So stress changes our disc profile sometimes, and that's the same with your customer. Have you ever had a customer who's been great, you've had this great relationship, and then you gave the price, and all of a sudden, boom, like this whole different person showed up, and you're like, who the hell is this person? Like, I thought we were really doing well. And what happened was the price stressed them out, and they changed into a different disc profile. So again, I don't want to overcomplicate it, but I just want you to know that can happen. All right? Stress changes people. All right. We talked a bit earlier with the questions in the back, which was, what if a customer doesn't have enough time? And that was a great example, which leads me into, used to be the triple win, which I have changed it to the quadruple win, because something's happened in this electrical industry, which is installers. A lot of companies are moving to straight installers. People's entire jobs is just to install stuff. That didn't happen for sure 5 years ago, and it definitely didn't happen 10 years ago, but more and more companies are adopting installers. How many companies in here have dedicated installers? A few? Okay, not too many actually. Okay. But if you don't now, you may in the future, and so that's why that's my last one. That's kind of on the bottom. But the triple win is the customer has to win, you, the technician, have to win, and the company has to win. So when we talked earlier, well, what if the homeowner only has 10 minutes before they get into Zoom training? Think in your head, in this scenario, if I rush this call, will the customer win? No. Will I win? Probably not. Will the company win? Probably not. Nobody wins. If nobody wins in that scenario, we should try to change the scenario. And you can do that for a lot of different things. But always know that all three have to win, but nobody is higher than the other. I know we always start with customer, but the customer is not any more important than the technician or the company. We're all the same. So it's not like, well, as long as the customer wins, we don't care. Oh, this color doesn't show? Okay, I'll try to change next time. Here, at least we wheel this forward more. I don't know if that helps, so we have our customer, our tech, and the company. So what usually happens in the home service industry, I suppose you really can't see now. What really happens in the home service industry is underpricing. And I'm sure you've seen that before, right? Especially these like 1-2 man operations. Yeah, they don't have the overhead and they don't maybe have to do as much, and they usually don't do all the stuff we do. But here's what happens. If a company underpriced themselves, does the customer win? You may think that, but they actually don't. Because here's what generally happens. We'll keep moving. Does the technician win? Usually not, and if they do, it's very short term because the company can't sustain it. They can't sustain paying a technician well or giving them good benefits if they don't charge enough. They might do it for a short time, but then they're going to go out of business. And does the company win? No, hell no. So let me ask you this. A lot of times we say, well, the customer wins. Well, if the best technicians leave that company, does the customer win? No. If the company goes out of business, does the customer win? No. So really, the customer doesn't win.
Or when the prices go up, you piss off the customer.
Yeah, so what we have to do is we have to price ourselves to make the customer happy, give the best service experience. We have to try to get the best technicians and keep the best technicians, and then we have to make a profit as a company. All three have to win. So if any one of these goes out, we can't give the service we want to give because we have to cut something. So one of the things, we'll get to this in objection handling, but when a customer's like, somebody's half the price of you. I know in my head, most companies in this room are maybe a little bit more than 10% profitable. So if another company is going to do the job for 50% less, and I'm only 10% profitable, what has to happen for that other company? They have to cut stuff, right? Something's got to go. So there's a lot of ways to trim stuff to get the price down. I can pay my guys less. I can buy cheaper products. I can give less benefits. I can get lower insurance. I can drive crappier trucks. I can not pull permits. But there's all kinds of things I can do to lower my price. But everything I cut affects the customer. I can't give great service by cutting all that stuff. Something's got to go. And when I explain that to homeowners, I always ask them, what do you think that person is cutting to get their price down? And you know what their answer is every time? It's, I don't know. And I said, you know what the scary part is? I don't know either. But something's got to go. They got to cut something. And if they're not cutting anything, they're not going to be in business very long. Heating and cooling contractors are the #1 company to go out of business in America. Probably not far after that is plumbing and electrical. And the reason is it's underpricing. That's what it usually is. It's not that they're usually doing bad electrical work or bad heating and cooling work or bad plumbing work. Usually, not always, usually the work is okay to decent. It's their business practices. They're not charging enough to sustain their business. All right? So this gets back to all three have to win, and that's why I want to hit on this. Now, the last one is installers, because if you do have installers, they have to win too. And a lot of times, installers don't get the recognition they should. Because what happens is that we all praise the guy who sells the work. We all get excited about that, right? And then the poor installer's got to go do the work, but they either don't get the recognition or they don't get looked at as extremely important. Because if we don't price the job right, and the installer is paid off a percentage or something like that, or a piece rate model or something like that, well, they're not winning. They got to win. If you give free work away, they need to win. So an example of that is, let's say I sold a $15,000 electrical job, and then right when I was ready to leave, the customer's like, hey, oh yeah, I forgot to mention, I have this shop light. Could you just hang this here? and wire this in real quick. I forgot to let you know about that. And because you are drained and you're tired and you just don't want to deal with it, you're like, yeah, we'll put that in when our guys come out to do the work. We'll throw that in also. Now again, does the customer win there? Yeah, the customer probably will win on that one. Did you win as the technician? No. Did the company win? No. Did the installer win? No. Right? Now what happens, let's say that light stops working a year later. Most of you in here probably have a 1, 2, 3, 4 year warranty on your work, I would assume, or more. Let's say that light stops working. And you're the technician who sold that big $15,000 job that we threw in the fluorescent light. LED, I'm showing my age with fluorescent. LED light, whatever, shop light, right? And in your mind, you're like, I didn't even charge him for that. I put that in with the job. Does the customer remember that?
No, they don't.
They don't know, and they may not even know. All they thought is, I spent $15,000 and that shop light doesn't work. Even though you didn't charge them for it, they don't know that. They just spent $15,000 and their shop light doesn't work. And now you got to go out there and warranty that light, possibly, and you didn't charge for it to the beginning. So now we lost twice on it, 3 times, right? So now the customer's winning again. Now the tech lost again, the installer lost again, and the company lost again because we could have ran a whole nother service call. So this is an example of all of them have to win. If there's not an installer involved, all 3 have to win. If there's an installer, all 4 have to win. Every time. That's why we can't throw things in. So like at my company, I have a rule, we have to charge something for everything. So maybe we would charge a level 4 for something, and we might drop it to a 2 if they've done a really large job. But they got to charge something for everything, all right? Now, your companies have your own rules, and your owners and managers will have to answer those questions on how you price things. But that's an example of why we don't throw things in, because the triple win doesn't happen. All right? Any questions on this? Okay. We'll get back to that in some examples later.